Welcome back to the weight room. Thanks for joining. Before we start here, just want to remind you to go subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, how are you? You okay?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Doing very, very well.
Really appreciate you coming on the podcast today.
No, thank you very much for having me. It's a real honour to come on to your podcast and listen to a little bit, and it's really good, so congratulations on all that you're doing. So, really honored to be on.
So, if you just want to introduce yourself a little bit, who you are, a little bit of your background.
Awesome, yeah. Well, my name is Timmy Horn. I'm 22 years of age. I live in the UK in a town called Woking, which is about 25 minutes out from London by train. I recently, last year, graduated from the University of Portsmouth, having studied sport and exercise science there for 3 years. I was an avid tennis player until recently. COVID has obviously taken that opportunity of being a professional tennis player away from me. But it hasn't taken the experiences that I learned. And then obviously just recently, as of last year, I started my own fitness podcast called the ReBorn Fitness podcast, where I talk about topics in the fitness world and also interview different people from the world of fitness and just sort of give people an idea as to what sport can give you. It can obviously give you the playing career, it can then give you the coaching side, there's the psychology side, there's the nutrition side, there's even the business side, and also I just try and inspire as well, get some inspiring people on to help people and inspire people through life, as it's not an easy journey. And then I've also obviously got a little bit of personal training going on, not so much at the moment due to COVID, but I've just started that recently. I've got like a garage and a gym that I've sort of redone and renovated, and before the lockdowns, I started that up, and that's me.
You talked about tennis. You talked about having an opportunity to play at a pretty high level. Where did that start?
Yeah, it was just always young. It was the first thing that I sort of really got to know. I sort of started when I was about 3 years of age, just for fun, and started with the sponge balls and just very, very light after school activities, and just kept doing it 3, 4, 5, 6. And it wasn't sort of until about sort of probably 8, 9, 10 years of age that I started to realise that that was the sport that I enjoyed most. I was doing football on the side as well on the weekends, just like a local team, just playing. And then obviously at school you do your usual sports that you did, sort of football in the winter, hockey after the Christmas break, and then in the summer it would be sort of cricket and tennis. But I was doing tennis outside and football, and then it wasn't until about sort of 12, 11 that I really said, right, you know what, I'm just going to now focus on tennis. And then just from there I just put all my efforts and focus in there and got up to national standard, and I was very, very close to going on to sort of the international circuit, and then unfortunately COVID took that away. But as I said before, it hasn't taken those experiences, and I've had some great experiences in tennis, and it's given me a lot of great memories and moments that I will never forget.
That's really cool to be that good at really anything. There's not too many people out there that can say that they're that good at whether it be sports or whatever it is. At what point did you start to implement like a strength conditioning aspect into your tennis? Yeah,
I had a coach that I transferred to. Someone, I don't know who. Someone put it in me in touch. There was a guy. His name was Anjan, who was an Indian guy, but a fantastic guy. And he was the first real person that introduced me to the world of fitness and strength and conditioning. I remember very, very clearly that session. Actually, I played with one of the coaches, and he tried me out, and he actually pulled me aside afterwards and said, "You're a great player, but you've done no S&C." And I had no idea. So he actually took me into a dance studio at the centre I was playing at, and he said, "Do a lunge," and I didn't know what it was, so I hadn't got a clue. So he had to show me, and I did it, and I fell over. I just didn't have the strength, and then from there he said, "Look, let me take you on, let me coach you, and I'll show you the strength, and I'll get you stronger, and it'll really help you." And then from then I had him sort of every week for an hour and a half, for 2 hours. But for the first sort of hour before I hit any balls, we'd do an hour of strength and conditioning and fitness. So it'd be just medicine ball work and lunges and fitness related to tennis for the first hour before I even hit a tennis ball. And then the next hour We just spend obviously playing tennis and working on the technical aspects and my tactical aspects and the actual game itself. But he was the first real coach that really introduced me to the world of fitness and to the world of S&C. And then obviously from there, my eyes were opened, and then I went to a great gym here in Woking, or Weybridge actually, called Locker 27, where I then got introduced to sort of the world of, Olympic lifting and proper, strength training with dumbbells and Olympic bars and deadlifting and back squatting and clean and jerk, overhead press, all of these exercises, and they were they took that to the next level. But it was John who sort of first introduced me to the world of fitness.
That's really cool. I think it's interesting when you think about kind of the history of sports, when, way back in the day, people thought if you lifted weights and got, more muscular, you would become less athletic. And now it's like that's such a big aspect of sports, even in, high school and on. And it's just crazy to think how good some of these athletes would have been, back in 50, 60, 70 years ago, how good they could have been if they would have, had some type of strength conditioning aspect as well.
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, to compare, as you said, 50, 70 years ago to, even when I was starting there, it was still a bit of almost like a secret club almost. You said you used to have to be within the right people to sort of know about it, because even when I started doing it in the tennis world, it was still relatively new, a lot of the stuff that I was doing, and people weren't, as aware of it. So it was just sort of starting to come big, and obviously now towards the end of my tennis career, it's now obviously such a major factor. Most players that I played were doing fitness, and the equipment and the availability and the accessibility of that equipment, I think, has helped. And as I left the game, it's become much more physical. And as you can see, watching sport on TV, everything's become more physical. From your sports over there, the American football, the basketball, the baseball, the ice hockey, they're all physically unbelievable. So, it would have been really interesting to see 60, 70 years ago what some of those players would have been like if they had, had the accessibility to the S&C and the facilities we have today.
Yeah, it would have definitely, who knows, some of these records that are already insane would have been absolutely just out of this world to imagine. So you talked a little bit about exercise science, and I'm actually an exercise science major myself. What kind of drew you into that?
I just think it was always, I never enjoyed, but I always found education difficult, studying. I'm quite a physical person, so I love moving and being active, and, sitting behind a desk, never well appealed to me. And, I was lucky enough to have such great coaches around me. My tennis coach that I had, Sean, has always advised me very well, and he always said from the outset to make sure you got your education, because obviously your career is not guaranteed. Anything can happen. You can get an injury, or, for my sake, the pandemic came along that no one expected and took that away. And I think the only reason I was going to go to university would be to study something that I enjoyed. And, I love sport. I watch it. I study it. I play tennis. So it's just been a constant, all throughout my life. So for me to study and go to university, it would have to be, something that I enjoyed. And, obviously, luckily they did a sport and exercise science course, and it was perfect. So, that was the only reason why, because I enjoyed it, really. It was a fantastic course, very, very enjoyable.
It was just so surprising, even though the word, science is in the description, it's in the name, how much science there actually was. Was that something that you were, going into it, did you understand and know that, and did you like that side of it?
Yes, I was very aware. I had a lot of people around, older, and, talking to other people that had done it. I was very aware that it was a very sciencey degree, and, a lot of people on the course in the first year dropped out, and I think they underestimated how sciencey it was, especially in that first year, because obviously they had to get everyone up to a base understanding, so everyone's on the same page, because we came from different backgrounds. Some did A levels and some did BTECs, which is the exams we have at college here in the UK. So I think a lot of people were surprised. People chose it because they thought it'd be practical, but there was the practical element, but the science side was something that I was prepared for. So when it started, it didn't really take me aback. I expected it.
Was science something you had always enjoyed, or was it just something you kind of figured out you enjoyed when you started that into that path?
Yeah, I wasn't really. Yeah, I didn't get on with science. I didn't enjoy it. I like the biology. Biology was one of my favourite sciences. The chemistry wasn't so much, and the physics wasn't so much. So I didn't have it was neither a love or a hate relationship. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I was okay with it. Some of my options I made weren't great, but that was okay. I caught up and, I adapted well. I think that's something you just got to do. You've got to learn to adapt. And I did that. It was manageable. As the first year went on, the second year went on, you adapted and, I caught up pretty well, pretty quickly. First 6 weeks were hard. I had a gap year, so I took a gap year out, went to Italy, played tennis for a year, and then came back into uni. So getting used to studying again was a challenge, but, I was always looking forward to it because, again, sports science was, I enjoyed it, and I was looking forward to studying it and looking forward to using it on myself and being able to apply it to myself. And I think that's what the appealing factor was, the application to myself, because I was training alongside at the time in Portsmouth. It's like a tennis centre, literally next to the sports science department. So I could, do my lectures and then train and then go from there. So, no, science was good. It was okay. And, in the sporting setting, it was something that I enjoyed and was looking forward to taking on and tackling.
Yeah, I think the best part about, the science aspect for me was actually applying it to those aspects that I understood that I liked. I had to take a few classes that several of the classes were nursing classes as well, and in those classes I was just it wasn't relatable at all, so I didn't like it. I struggled with it more. When I got into biomechanics, when I got into classes like that, I could see, okay, this is going to help me whenever I need to do this. This is going to, benefit me and the client. This is going to actually relate to what I want to do. So you mentioned playing tennis in Italy?
Yeah, I was very blessed, very lucky to have that experience. So my coach again, Sean, who was my coach at the time, I played at a school in Surrey called Reed's School, and they used to take their students out every sort of Easter to San Remo in northwest Italy, so like on the Italian Riviera, like 20 minutes from Monaco. Very, very beautiful location. And there was a guy out there, top coach, Bob Brett, who unfortunately sadly passed away early in January, actually, very, very sadly from cancer. And he had an academy out there. He used to work with some of the top professionals who are still playing now, Marin Cilic. He used to work with Boris Becker, Goran Ivanisevic. So he worked with some top players. So he had an academy out there, and Sean said, well, look, because you've taken your studying seriously, I think you should go out for a year and train out in Italy and just catch up on the tennis you've missed. That was a sacrifice I had to make. I had to get my education and cut back on tennis. So I missed out on a few years of tennis just to get my education. But obviously I'm quite thankful I did now. So yeah, I flew out, loved it. And so I decided to start. So I went out in September 2016. Yeah, 2016. And spent a year out there training. And it was very, very intense, tough at times. I learned a lot about myself from sort of, what I liked. And the tennis aspect was fantastic. The culture out there, the experience was something I'll never forget. To be able to play with some great guys. Fabio Fanini, who currently still plays on the tour, he used to come down and train there for a little bit, so it was great to be around there and stayed with a local family. So, I learnt the language a little bit, can't remember much now. But the food was fantastic, unbelievable, just unbelievable. It was almost too good. I actually came back a little bit overweight, because my diet at one point was, canteen was shut. So I had to go down to the town, and they had like a local pizza place. So I used to eat there. So for lunch, I used to have like homemade pizza. And then the guy I stayed with was actually a chef. So he used to cook unbelievable meals. But every night it would be a starter, it would be a full plate of pasta, which would probably be someone's main course. And then I'd have a meat dish afterwards, plus a salad, plus bread to start. And that was probably for about 6 to 8 weeks straight. That was my diet, and it was just not healthy, but because I was training so much and playing every day and burning, I just kept eating because I needed the fuel, but it eventually caught up with me. But no, it was an amazing experience, something that I'll never forget, and I was very, very lucky, and will always be thankful, to have had that opportunity to play tennis for a whole year, do something that I love for a whole year in an unbelievable place, beautiful, right by the coast. Very small, very safe town, San Remo, and as I said, something I'll never ever forget.
Was there some free time to where you could mess around and have some fun?
Yeah, there was. I mean, to be honest, it was a very, very small academy. So there's actually only one other person who permanently stayed there. And then they used to have camps. So like in December and April half term, so basically the English school holidays, they'd bring loads of people out. But yeah, when the camps were on, there was loads of time in the evenings. We'd go to the restaurant, we'd come back and we'd play like it around the courts at night. We'd talk, we'd have fun, we'd go into town, we'd just, have ice cream. I'd used to go down sort of and just walk in the town, get chips, have a coffee, have a crepe with Nutella if I fancied it, go to Monaco when my parents came over or friends came over, went over to Monaco, spent the day there. Yeah, so there was a lot of time as well, but it was very, very intense. It would be sort of Monday to Friday. I'd be up at 6:30, 7 o'clock on the court for 8:30, play for 2 hours in the morning, have an hour fitness session, then have 2 hours off for lunch, and then about 2 o'clock in the afternoon I'd play again, 2 till 4, and then 4 till 5 fitness, and do that Monday to Saturday morning, and then plus competitions as well. So, a lot of the time it was just resting and sleeping and recuperating and stretching and things like that. But, when I wasn't in tournaments, if I was injured, then there would be time to chill out, enjoy myself, go to Monaco, etc., things like that. But no, it was very intense. There's a lot of sleeping and a lot of recovering and just trying to reserve and preserve my energy for the next day or for the tournament or training, whatever I had on. But it was enjoyable. There was lots of great memories.
Current day, what keeps you motivated to stay fit, to work out, to train?
Yeah, it's interesting now that the tennis has gone. It's been an interesting adaptation because the tennis always was a goal, and I'd have to keep fit because of that, and that'd be my motivation. Now it's probably more for my mental health. I need to keep fit for my mental health because I know I need it in my life. It's without it, it's not good for me. Especially now as I'm giving out a lot with the podcast and was with the personal training and will be once it starts up. It's important that I give back to myself. So I think that's my biggest motivation is my mental health and just doing something for me. Because otherwise I can get caught up and get lazy and just give out to other people and then not give back to myself. And I know, that's not healthy. So, the biggest driving factor is my mental health and giving back to me, but also keeping my potential up because I'm still in my prime. I'm still young and I still want to keep in shape as well. Even though I'm not playing tennis, I still want to feel good. I still want to be strong and I still want to be fit and healthy. I don't want to deteriorate. And I want to feel good about myself and not just let myself go. So it's probably keeping myself in shape is my biggest motivation and keeping my mental health and giving back to myself, I'd say.
It's crazy to look at the relationship between mental health issues and the culture that we have kind of created, the sitting culture and the way we work, the way we sometimes enjoy our free time.
No, I couldn't agree more, and I think especially even now, even more now in these times, and obviously we're in lockdown over here in the UK. I'm not sure what it's like for you guys over there, but over here it's massive in our third lockdown, and for young people and even for old people working from home, without exercise, no one's getting out. So even more now than ever, exercise is massive. It gets us out, it gets us moving, and as you say, there's mental benefits, ginormous. It releases those endorphins, you feel good, it helps you to feel sharper, and it doesn't have to be that long. I think people see it as, oh my gosh, it's this big commitment, and you've got to do it, regularly, and it's so long, and it doesn't have to be. It can be 10 minutes. You can start with even just 5 minutes, just walking around your block for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be a big half an hour HIIT session or, have all these bits of equipment. Just start by walking and then build up from there slowly, and just consistency, I think, is key if you're starting off. I find if you just be consistent, have the same routine, the same time, the same place, some sort of trigger that you can use to, right, yep, tomorrow's my workout, put my kid out the night before, I want to do another 10 minutes, show up. That's a big achievement, just showing up in itself. But I think just starting small and being consistent and then building up from there, I think will help someone go a long way.
I think the consistency aspect is huge. And then something else that you mentioned was the time. You don't have to put in, like you said, a 30-minute HIIT session or something that's super time involved. I was looking at this one research, and it said bouts of 4 seconds of high intensity exercise for a total of 1 minute has, actually a really big impact on your fitness.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree. And even I read somewhere when I was doing research on one of the episodes, even like doing house chores like cleaning or hoovering or mopping is deemed, even cleaning your windows is deemed as fitness. That's still something. So for someone that's had no experience, even just doing that to start is something, because you think about it, you're still moving, your body's involved, you're moving your body, you're mopping, you're moving your arms backwards and forwards, you put your back into it, your legs are involved in this sort of bit. Even walking up the stairs, I think people can overcomplicate it far too. So this is fitness is this big thing that they need this, that and the other, and it's just this big daunting aspect. They just don't need to overcomplicate. As you say, just there, that's crazy. 4 seconds, for a minute. I mean, that's amazing. So that's really interesting. I think I saw that article somewhere as well. I didn't quite believe it, but I think I've heard of what you've mentioned, but it is amazing.
So as far as your exercise kind of program, are you on something specific right now, or are you just kind of taking it, day by day?
Yeah, I wouldn't say anything specific. I have like a routine. So like every Tuesday I have like a Zoom online personal training session that I do with a personal trainer. Which is sort of just you put some things together, and that keeps my strength in. And then I've got, since stopping the tennis, I've got into a lot of running again. So I'm running 3 times a week. So I do like a shorter run, more intense at the start of the week, and then sort of the Wednesday and the Friday will be a bit, some longer runs that I do. So at the moment, that's what I'm doing, just the strength on the Tuesday, and then the running also to keep my cardio and just to do something for myself. So that's currently what I'm doing at the moment.
Is that cardio something you enjoy, or is it something you just kind of get through?
No, actually, I enjoy it for some reason. I've always been, I was always good at cross country at school, and I always like long distances. So for me, the running I actually enjoy. It's something that I actually enjoy, and so it's not something that I'm just trying to do. I actually enjoy the runs, and I think now I've got a bit more time. I think I'll be. I joined the running club before the third lockdown, and I was about to do it, and then obviously the lockdown came along, so that's been postponed. But I love the cardio side of it. Always have done, because potentially have to be. You have to be pretty good at endurance events and long distances, because there's no set time in tennis. In Italy I played a 3.5-hour match once on clay, which was very, very enjoyable. I loved it. Very physically demanding, but very enjoyable experience. So the running long distances is just something that I enjoy.
Man, that's crazy. I never really thought about it. It could literally go, I guess, as long as it goes.
Yeah, I mean, the longest tennis match was at Wimbledon, like 10 years ago, between John Isner and Nicholas Mahou. It went on for 11 hours over 2 days. So the total length of the match was 11 hours. It was ridiculous. And the last set went on for something like 4.5 hours, 5 hours. It was amazing. Another match was at the Australian Open a couple of years ago between Djokovic and Nadal, like 6 hours and 5 minutes of just ridiculousness. So, it's always been in me. So it's not something that I've had to force. It's always been natural.
That's just pushing your mental toughness to a whole nother level, really.
Yes, yeah, massively. It was massively, tennis is massively, especially at that top level. Everyone can hit a ball, everyone can play, everyone's tactically astute. It's just physically, it comes down to the physical. Everyone can move around the court, but it's that cardiovascular. How long can you keep the intensity up? And I think that's what separates some of the top players from the top 50, is that keeping that intensity level up for 4 or 5 hours. And that's what separates the Grand Slam champions from your top 10 solid player who hasn't won anything yet. So
going back to your own fitness journey, is there anything specifically that you struggle with?
Diet I've never really struggled with. I've always been quite fortunate, because at home we eat pretty well anyway, because my mum's into fitness, and so she always cooks pretty healthy food, and so for me it's always been, the diet's been okay. I've had to learn, obviously Italy was a bit of a down, but I learned from that. It was a good learning experience. I sort of abused the body a little bit with too much carbs, but I learned that, and from there I could have control. With regards to some of the workouts, when I was younger, I was a bit underdeveloped. It's a long story, but I had to put a lot of work in when I was younger on my core, working on my core strength, my upper body strength, and that continued throughout. Actually, I've always, I've worked on my upper body, but not to the point. You don't need upper body in tennis to be as strong. You don't need to be too bulky. You need sort of a balanced approach, as you say, and which I managed to keep throughout. Actually, I kept everything quite balanced. Each bicep was very balanced. One wasn't bigger than the other, but like overhead movements, so like overhead press, or like clean and jerk, I'd always struggle with for some reason. I just never really had, the strength, or chest. I never really trained chest much. So when I did, that was something that I've always, struggled with. Legs was all good, and other arms is not too bad, but overhead movements I've had to work on quite a bit, and chest I haven't really trained that much. So when we did chest, it's been pretty brutal. I never really look forward to that. But back to the diet, again, never really. It's been an issue. I've had it controlled, and I think I've learned as I got older, it's something that I don't take too seriously, but I don't take relaxed. I have like a balanced approach. I just sort of watch what I eat, what I put into my mouth. I eat healthily. I don't eat poorly. I don't have, KFC very often. I have it like once every 6 months, maybe even once a year. Try and cut down the sugary drinks, drink water every single morning and throughout the day, and try and eat a balanced diet. So, I've always been not strict to the point where I'm measuring out portions and stuff like that. But, I do watch what I eat and try and take care of my body as much as possible.
That's a good point when you said, you don't measure out your food, but you do just watch what you put in your body. Kind of going back to the point we made before about it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It doesn't have to be a crazy commitment. It just,
Exactly.
start somewhere.
Our society these days constantly looking for quick fixes. You always see these like, give me advertisements, get fit in 2 weeks, or get abs in 40 days if you do this, or lose this much weight with this diet, or, they're constantly looking for quick fixes and paying money on constant different things. I'll try this, I'll try that. As you say, just start somewhere. Just have a look at yourself and see where, your weaknesses are, and then just slowly try and cut some of them out. Just cut it back. So if you like having a fizzy drink once every couple of days, try and make it once a week, and then take it down to, once every 2 weeks, and then once a month, and then before you know it's cut out your diet. Don't, say, right, I'm going to go completely opposite direction and go, X, Y, and Z, and cut out this, that, and the other, and, it just doesn't last, because then you say, how's it going? And they go, oh, well, I'm back on it again now because I couldn't keep it. It's too extreme. Start somewhere, start small, and have little victories, and then from there build up, and then over time you can then make a life change. Before you know it, you're just, managing your diet, eating well, and there it is.
You can't really make a lifestyle change unless you commit to changing your mindset on why you're doing something, and it's very easy to set a goal for whatever you want to set it for and for whatever length of time, but if you're not really mentally there yet, I think that's kind of the first stage of accomplishing any goal, because you see a lot of people, I'm sure within your own life, that say, man, I would love to look like you, or I'd love to be, as healthy as you. How do you do it? And, you give them advice, and then they get all excited about it, and, they maybe for a week, and they're, like you said, they're just back on, what they were doing before, and you're like, oh man, what happened? And they're just like, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't, it's not for me. It's just, must be, something that you have to be into, and it kind of is. It's just something that you have to mentally be at. You can't, like I said, you can't make a lifestyle change unless you have that mental switch.
Yeah, you have to commit to it. You can't just do it for someone else. You have to do it because you want to do it. I think a lot of people go on the fitness training because their friends doing it, so I'll do it. And then before you know it, their friends still doing it and they're not, because you're doing it for your friend, not for yourself. And it's the same with the diet. If you really want to make a change, you have to really want to do it. And as you say, I totally agree with what you're saying. It's totally a mindset thing. You have to mentally be there and be ready to take on the challenges. It's not going to be easy. You can have days where you feel tempted to go back and eat that chocolate brownie or whatever it is, but that's where you have to then be committed. And if you are, then you can make that decision and go, actually, do you know what? I'm not going to eat that. I'm going to stay off that, and I'm going to have the protein bar instead. But I agree. It's mindset, and you have to do it for yourself and for no one else.
One of the biggest misnomers, I think, of people who do live a healthy life is that, somebody out on the outside looking in thinks, I can't do that because they just must love eating, healthy food, and they really don't like sweets, and they don't like to watch TV, or they don't like to do these things. They love working out. They'd rather be doing something healthy. And most of the time, that's just not the case. Like, most people, it's not like it's a human nature to put yourself through something that isn't pleasurable, or as pleasurable maybe as another option.
They have to come to that, but you can, hopefully try and, as you say, show them and help them see the light and see actually what they're doing is going to lead to X, Y, and Z and all these problems if they keep eating this way and keep treating their body like this. Because, I see my body as like it's like a performance car. So if you take a Ferrari and put the wrong petrol in it, it's not going to perform. Is really important. And it's not like we're these freaks who love protein shakes and love supplements and love eating green vegetables and high protein meals. We just know that eating these are going to help our bodies perform better, feel better, and gain those muscle mass, gain that goal, whatever goal you're trying to do on one's fitness journey.
Let's talk for a minute about your podcast again. Where did you come up with that, with the ReBorn aspect of it?
So I had the idea back in January of last year, January the 4th. So I'm a Christian. So I have a relationship with Jesus, and it was weird. I was doing university work, and I was sitting there, and there's an advert on the side of the screen on the internet, and it said "Start a podcast today." And for some reason, I just had this sense that Jesus had placed this in my heart. I said, just do it. I just felt this urge to start a podcast. So I went upstairs and got my notepad, and I started researching and jotting ideas down. I then got a friend involved, and we sat down and we just started brainstorming different ideas. We sort of researched, fitness podcasts out there, and sort of saw what titles were out there and sort of what sort of themes there were. And we just sort of played around and sort of had to sort of re-energize, rejuvenate. And then we're like, I think I came up with ReBorn. I was like, ReBorn. He's like, oh yeah, that's a good one. I like that. ReBorn. You've redone, reborn. That sort of whole concept of being reborn. You're done fitness and you become reborn. You want to educate, inspire, and equip you, and make you reborn, etc. So we just sort of played around with a few words and sort of came up with ReBorn Fitness and sort of researched and saw if anything I had something like that for a podcast, and there it was. It was born. And we sort of planned sort of how we're going to do the series, what the title was going to be. We sort of had like a content sort of type thing where we talk about different areas in fitness. Did the first series, went really well, and then my partner moved on, or the co-host more like moved on, which is okay. And then I had sort of more control to sort of start taking it down. I'd sort of restart. I actually wanted to invest, so I invested in better sound, better microphones, better sort of equipment, which I did. And then I sort of did this sort of the second series, third series, and I'm in my fifth series now. And I've even started to refine it even more now, to the point where I sort of found my style, which is actually interviewing people and interviewing about sort of their journeys in sport. It was something that I wanted to do and we wanted to do, but obviously my co-host moved on, which is okay. And yeah, here I am, series 5, and going strong and really enjoying it. And people love it, and it's doing well. Slow and steady wins the race. Just being consistent and persistent, putting content out there, and just continue to inspire people. I see it as a real honour to be able to do what we do. Obviously anyone can do it, but to do it with an actual a vision of inspiring and touching people, and hoping that it starts to gain traction and people start to it becomes more noticeable. But that's just part of the journey. It's about discovering and learning new skills. Once my co-host moved on, he did all the editing and stuff for the thing, so I just started learning that. But that was great. It opened a whole new world, and it's given me so many skills now that I'm so grateful that I did. Researching microphones and what the best ones are, and the best recording apps and the best editing apps, and how to edit the podcast, how to make it nice. It just makes it all better. So yeah, I'm really excited to see where it goes. I just feel the Lord has really got his hand over it, and I just feel that at the right time it's going to gain the right traction, and I've just got to keep doing my part of keep showing up, keep putting my heart and soul into each interview and each episode, and keep making it the best quality as possible. My slogan / catchphrase is hashtag a spirit of excellence. I want to do every single episode to the best of my ability with that absolute excellence. When people listen to it, they think, yeah, this guy's doing it right. He's only got however many listens, but it's really well done. The interview style is really good. The questions he asks are really well, and that's what I've been experiencing. Every interview that I've done, the guests that have come on have been very impressed. They're like, wow, what you do, your style is great, your questions are fantastic, your flow is really good, and that's what I'm all about. And just educating, inspiring, and equipping. That's the message of ReBorn Fitness. I want to educate you. I want to inspire you by getting people on, and I want to equip you so you can then go and take that knowledge you've learned and pass it on to other people. And, hopefully one day ReBorn Fitness can become big, and it can become a multi-generational thing where it can get passed down, and it can be a continual thing, not just a one-off thing, but a continual and multi-generational thing that will continue for years and years to come. So I feel very honoured to be able to do it every week and to keep putting episodes out, and I'm just looking forward to seeing where it takes me.
If you just want to kind of let people know where they can find the podcast and where they can find you, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so the podcast is ReBorn Fitness. I'm on many different platforms, but the major ones, obviously Spotify, you can find me. Just put in ReBorn Fitness, so ReBorn is capital R, lowercase e, capital B, and then ORN, and then capital F, Fitness, and then obviously Fitness. So you can find me on all streaming podcasting, so Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon, all the different platforms I'm on there. So just type in ReBorn Fitness and you will find me. And I'm on Instagram, my ReBorn Fitness page. So ReBorn on Instagram, it's ReBorn _ Fitness Podcast. So it's lowercase REBORN _ and then lowercase Fitness Podcast. They are all one word. And then I have a Facebook page as well. Just type in ReBorn Fitness. And you can find me on Facebook. And if you want to check my website out, I have a website also, www.rebornfitness2020.squarespace.com. That's www.rebornfitness2020.squarespace.com.
Awesome. That's all good stuff. I appreciate your time coming on here and sharing your story, sharing a little bit of your wisdom and knowledge.
Oh gosh! Well, I just first of all want to say thank you, Daniel, for having me on. It's been a real honour to come on the weight room and to come on your podcast and to be able to talk to you today. It's been a really great conversation, and I love your podcast. Been listening to it, and we'll continue to follow you guys. Keep doing what you're doing as well with your journey, and just keep being consistent with it. And you've definitely got potential there. So it'd be a real honour. I just think for the listeners, I think in these crazy times, just continue to love each other. Let's support each other. And just be kind to yourself out there, especially in these times. Just be kind to yourself. The world's a tough place. And I think the biggest thing that I'll leave you guys with is just continue to live in the present moment. Continue to stay in the present. Don't get too caught up in the past or what's to come in the future, because the future is not guaranteed. And continue to take care of your bodies and look after yourselves.
Once again, thanks for coming on and good luck in the future.
Thank you again.
Alrighty, thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Weight Room. Fantastic episode. Another podcast host. Make sure you go check that one out, ReBorn Fitness. Make sure you subscribe once again. Subscribe wherever you are listening. You can find The Weight Room on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and pretty much anywhere else you listen to podcasts. And that is it. Have a great day, and until next time, I'm out.